Hey guys, one of the things that I feel that is happening in real time is we're being brought into contact with the places within us that are kind of like the most collapsed, or these places that didn't get to have boundaries when they were little. Um, these places that are kind of like this, like they just want to be small and they're really scared of pretty much everything, especially people. And so I feel like the universe might be conspiring for a lot of us to bring about the perfect circumstances for us to make contact with these places and to shine light on them and to hold them with tenderness and to actually kind of bring the type of energies and protection and fortification that these places have always needed. And so this can feel really uncomfortable. This can feel like a lot of freeze response. Sometimes if these places are triggered up in you'll literally feel like you can't move. And that's because like that's where these inner children, these little ones, that's kind of like where they've lived their whole life, just in a state of freeze, in a state of hypervigilance. These places just have never felt safe. And this can be especially true around other people, especially strangers, or like maybe these places were conditioned like strangers are scary. And so, they're kind of both things. They're frozen and they're on high alert. And so they're like kind of just waiting for the shoe to drop, in a sense. They're just waiting to get hurt. They're waiting for something bad to happen. And that's kind of like the world these somatic shapes and energies live in. That's kind of what they project out onto the world, that the world is scary, that the world is a mean place, or that they might have this belief that they've got to stay small to be safe, that they can't. Another belief these places have in our body, that is like they can't be themselves, like they'll be rejected, or being themselves is unsafe. It's not even like rejection's one thing, but these places, and this could come from past lives and just like generational trauma, but these places literally believe like if they're to be themselves, or if they're to be big, or if they're to be expansive, that they could die. Like that's, if you feel into these places, that's literally the belief that's going on there. Like, no, if we come out of our shell, if we stop being small, if we stop hiding, we could die. And so it's that real for these places. Of course, consciously you can see like that's not actually reality. But to really start to untether from these places, and because if we're tethered into them and we're in identification with them, it's like, well, then they don't get that powerful, loving parent that they need. That's showing them like, hey, you're safe, that everything's okay, that this world will not kill you for being exactly who you are. And so, if we're hooked into identification with them, and we're believing what they're saying, and we're just kind of going along with it, they're actually, these places aren't getting what they need. So what they need is for us to really unravel our identification with the thoughts that they're producing, with the beliefs that they're producing, and to just witness them. And we're not forcing here, we're not pushing, of course. We're holding loving tenderness for them, but we're also bringing forward this field of strength for these parts of us, this field of power, of like, I hear you, I know it's been hard for you, but we actually are safe, and I'm gonna hold you as we walk through the fire of expanding, as we walk through the fire of being ourselves, as we walk through the fire of letting go of fear of what others might think of us, or fear of other people in general, or whatever the thing is. It's like, and there's a titration here, right? We can embody these shapes and let ourselves be small, as long as we're being conscious with it, just to kind of give that part, maybe it needs consciousness in this place where it's really all the way bundled up in a ball, fetal position, just needs light there. And then also we can do this too consciously with this part, and we can feel how scared this part gets when we do this. And then we get to consciously be with that fear as it unravels. So this is just something that came through that is real for me in these moments, in these times. It's like life is bringing me into contact with even deeper layers of these parts of me that, like I said, didn't get to have boundaries, that are in a state of collapse, that had to be small, and it's like, and these places actually probably did have to be small, and they probably did have to compromise on their truth when they were little, and it's just like this generational trauma type of energetics that can still be in our body from our ancestors too, where they had to go through certain things that were really difficult, and maybe a lot of trauma happened. Most likely, if you look at human history not so far back, there was a lot of traumatizing going on amongst people, of course. War and violence and just all kinds of things were happening. So it's like those kinds of energies or traumas might still be in the DNA. It might have been passed down to you, and now you're actually liberating these these energies and these traumas, not only for yourself but for your whole generation, for your whole ancestral lineage. And so part of it is like letting yourself go into the cocoon, be small, but the other part is like stepping out and like really showing these parts, like, we're safe, we can take up space. That's a big one, is you're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to, really be here on earth and to have your own, your own space here, in a sense. And I think for a lot of us, maybe in childhood, we didn't experience that so much. We had to be what everyone else wanted us to be. And if we weren't, then we weren't safe. And we didn't get to have our own sense of autonomy or sovereignty a lot of times, perhaps. And maybe that's real for you. Maybe that's more real for others. And like I said, a lot of this, it could have to do with just ancestral trauma that's being cleared right now. And so experiment with this, allowing yourself to be with this. It's just really, at the end of the day, it's fear. And it's this part of you that doesn't feel safe, and that's scared, and that doesn't have good boundaries, and that doesn't feel empowered. It doesn't feel, it doesn't feel safe to be as it is. It's hyper-vigilant, it's on the lookout. So just kind of experiment with being with this place in all the ways it needs you to be with it. And to not get hooked into it, and you're not this place anymore. Like, you know what I mean? You're not the scared one. You're actually not the one who believes it has to be small to be safe. It might feel like that at times when this energy is triggered up, but you're not that. You actually know you're safe. You actually know that you can be yourself around other people. You know that you get to take up space here. You know that you get to have boundaries. And one of the energies that might be especially prevalent as you make contact with these places that didn't get to have boundaries, that were kind of imposed upon, that kind of just had to stay still and shut up, you could say, is this energy of anger. So this place didn't get to express healthy anger, because when it did, it could lead perhaps to violence or to truly unsafe situations. So there most likely is a lot of repressed anger in these places in your body that didn't get to have boundaries. So we're conditioned to be afraid of our anger, because when it comes up and we expressed it, probably things would not go well. But we're like reconditioning ourselves. We're rewiring to learn that anger is a healthy and productive emotion when it's allowed to come up and really transmute, or really just to really flow. And I'm not saying to go project your anger onto others. This isn't the point. The point is to not be afraid of your own anger in your own body, and to know if you're making contact with anger, that this is a good thing. The anger is coming up, and as you let it come up and as you let it flow up like a volcano, one of my teachers, Craig Holliday, would always say that, you'll notice as you allow that to happen, your energy field will automatically become more fortified, and you automatically have a deeper sense of healthy boundaries and a really fuller sense of your own power. And so we don't want to shut our own anger down, because that's a habitual pattern. We want to let the anger come up. We want to learn how to, if we can't, I know it's a lot to ask to learn how to be comfortable with it, but just to learn that it's not bad. And that it's here to serve us in a really productive and helpful way. And so, when we get into contact with these collapsed parts, these parts that have been shuttered, these parts that have been shut down, they're really afraid. They're terrified of other people. They're terrified of being seen or heard or being authentic. There's a big component of integrating anger that really needs to happen, and that will happen as you start bringing consciousness to these parts. And so, let the anger be here and just do your best with it. Sometimes it can kind of flow out a little bit, and that's okay. It's just an energy that wants expression, that has a backlog of not being expressed for many, many years, maybe lifetimes. Like, this could be ancestral stuff too. This ancestral anger that really just wants to be seen and heard by you. Maybe letting this flow in containers with other people that are safe could be good, if it feels like too much for just you to handle at this moment. But ultimately, over time, this anger will move through the system, will transmute, and you will feel just safer in your own body. That's the big thing. If there's a lot of repressed anger, we're not going to feel that safe, because that anger is our boundaries. That anger is like our sense of like, okay, who we are. It's like we're cut off from a really important aspect of ourself. The aspect, like our inner dragon, you could say. And if our inner dragon isn't up, well, we're not going to feel safe. We need our inner dragon. We need that fire. And the more you allow it to flow and integrate, the more it can show up in really healthy ways. But if it's really repressed, then we will tend to have like explosions. It'll just explode and kind of be more destructive. And if that happens temporarily, it's okay. Forgive yourself, and you're learning. You're just here to it's very difficult to be with these energies at first, so cut yourself some slack. But the more that we're embracing of our anger, and the more it's just allowed to flow naturally, the less we'll be prone to explosions of anger, and the more we'll just have healthy expressions of anger, where it's just us asserting boundaries and having a really solid no, and feeling that we're safe to take up space here, and it will flow through our system as it was meant to, in a really just a helpful and productive way. So I think that's the video today. This is a really hard place to work with somatically in our bodies. I know, I get it. Be gentle with yourself here. It will take some time, most likely. Get the help you need. Take good care of yourself, and just know this is happening for your highest. It can feel like when you're getting in touch with these places, you might even get mad at God. I don't want to feel this, because it can be downright excruciating. And it can feel like just too much at times. And this is because we tend to get identified with it and hooked into these somatic shapes and the thoughts they're producing, etc. But just know that this is just a part of you that's coming up to be seen. This is a really good thing. This is you coming more into your power. This is you, as you bring consciousness to these parts of you, you're gonna start to feel so much more safe and so much more embodied. It's like you're just bringing embodiment to disembodied and disconnected parts of yourself and repressed parts of yourself. And the more you bring embodiment to these places, the more you're gonna feel in your body. And it's actually when we feel like we're in our body, that's when we feel safe. And so the divine is just doing whatever she can to bring you more fully into your body, so that you can feel better here on earth, so that you can feel like you can be expansive, that your truly unique energetic signature can express fully. And so for those things to happen, we really have to meet these unconscious places in us that are just terrified and feel completely unsafe. And that's its own journey. So I hope this helps in some way. Thanks for joining the Patreon. Thanks for your donations. Thanks for booking sessions. All of those things really help support this work. And you're all just, I truly appreciate all of you so much. All right. Namaste.